Anthony Fantano is the most popular music critic, and today I listened to every single one of his 10s and rated them. I'm going to be doing a track by track review for every album, but if you just want to skip to the rating and a little summary of each album, timestamps will be in the description. This video took a lot of time, so it would mean a lot for a like. If there are any other albums or discographies that you would like me to review, drop them in the comments. Let's get into it. The first album I listened to was The Money Store by Death Grips, one of Fantano's most iconic 10s. Here's a track-by-track review. Starting off, we got Get Got. I really like the abrasive and industrial production that Death Grips uses on this song. I don't really like the spoken word flow that MC Ride uses, but on the chorus it really adds to the song and keeps the same style and a sound that works. The chorus definitely carries the sound of this song, but I think the song as a whole is pretty solid. Then we go to The Fever AA. I like the abrasive production again, but I don't really like his vocals on this song as they don't fit much with the production. The chorus and the second verse sound a lot better and also are just, pretty solid. I really like the change in production on the chorus, and I feel like that is kind of the highlight of the song. Then we go to Lost Boys. The production is really interesting, but it doesn't really work that well for me, and Ride's vocals on the verse aren't that amazing and don't really suit the production. The production does really fit the anarchist and wasteland style that they use on the rest of the album, and the lyrics on this song do that as well, but I just don't really like the track as much. Blackjack isn't really the greatest track. I do like the production on the refrain and on Ride's verses, but again, Ride's vocals just don't really do it for me and don't complement the production. Then we go to Hustle Bones. I really like the production and Ride's aggressive style and vocals. The production and vocals work really well together with the car vrooming sounds in the background, working hand in hand with Ride's aggressive vocals. The change in production during the chorus sounds amazing, and Ride really sounds great on the chorus. The second verse drags a little, but the switch back to the chorus really ends the song on a high note. Then we go to I Seen Footage. The production is really good and is a little less abrasive, but still has an industrial and wasteland-ish sound. Ride's vocals and flow work a lot better since he stays aggressive without a super upbeat and up-tempo beat. And Ride flows over the third verse production, but the standout of this song is the production on the chorus. Double Helix, the production is chopped up and sounds rough around the edges, which I don't really like. On the verses, Ride sounds good, but I don't like the soundbite that's used throughout the song. System Blower, this production starts off pretty solid, but is a little bit more generic than some of the other songs before we begin to build up. The song kind of goes off the rails with the production, but I like the sound that they use in this song. It does last a little bit longer than it needs, just building up with the production, but I think it's still pretty fine. The Cage, the production is amazing on this one, but I don't really like the lyrics for the chorus and just don't think it sounds that good. Ride's vocals and flow just aren't up to par with the rest of the album's flow. Then we go to Punk Weight. The sample that they use at the beginning is interesting, but I feel like it really works. The distortion and aggressive style that Ride uses works well with the production on the song. The constant lyrics, and the sound of the song all work together as they're dedicated to chaos, war, and constant forward motion. Then we go to F That. The production is really stripped back, using mostly drums as the main rhythm on the song. It's a solid song, but doesn't really fit that well with the super aggressive and distorted styles of the other songs. Bitch Please. The production is a lot slower than some of the other songs on the album, but it still has the same industrial sound. Ride still sounds angry and goes into the aggressive style that works really well in this song. The chorus on the song is pretty catchy and sounds solid, but it's still kind of like a mid-chorus on the album. Last but not least, we got Hacker. Hacker, Ride sounds amazing, and his references to famous people really work on this song. The production on the song is amazing and just works perfectly with Ride's vocals. The chorus is absolutely insane and is just so good. It's a perfect culmination to the album. I think it's probably the best song on the album, and I think it just is kind of my song for the album. Like if I'm saying listen to Death Grips The Money Store, I'm saying listen to Hacker because it's the best song on it. This album does have amazing production, and Ride's voice fits with the production a lot of the time and enhances them, but besides being a very influential album, the choruses sound amazing, and the range of sound on the album show its layers. Although I'm not a big Death Grips fan, at all, but going into listening to this album, songs like Hustle Bones, I've Seen Footage, and Hacker are just amazing songs and kind of carry the album. They also just use samples in such interesting and creative ways that enhance each song's sound. Either way, though, the Money Store by Death Grips gets a 7 out of 10, 3 points lower than what Fantano gave it. The next album I listened to was Swans To Be Kind, and I think this was a pretty solid album, but let's just go track by track. Screenshot, this song kind of creates a haunting atmosphere to build up to a large conclusion. I think the sound that the song creates with the slow but steady build to the epic conclusion, but I feel like the lyrics kind of seem weird for the song, but I love the ending of the song and how everything kind of comes together. I just think the build up of the song is a little slow. Then we go to Just a Little Boy. The song builds up a lot of atmosphere with the percussion and drums echoing in the background to create a lonely sounding track. I don't like the I'm just a little boy lyrics because of the way Gira says it, but I think his vocals are really haunting throughout the song and the instruments kind of pick up at the end. A little God in My Hand, the instruments blow out your ears with the horns and digitally enhanced sounds. The song's last minute is a mix of digitally created sounds and horns, which just sound really good together. Bring the Sun / Tucson, I think his name is. I really like the build up on the song of Bring the Sun part, where he says to the sun, and where I feel like all the instruments work really well together to create this great atmospheric sound. In the second part, I really like the mashup of the drums, guitar, and other instruments. I really like the chilling atmosphere of the song as well, but I don't think this song should be 32 or 34 minutes long. It's just a super overblown song for something that is pretty solid, but I don't want to listen to it for 34 minutes. Then we go to Some Things We Do. I love the strings in the background of the song and the haunting lyrics just simply listing things that people do. I think this is a really solid track, and I think it kind of ends out the first part of the album really well. Next up, I did listen to this album in the two parts, like the first part is the first 5 songs, the next part is the second 5. So I mean, it was kind of fresh when I came into the second part, so, these might be a little bit more positive compared to what I actually thought. She Loves Us, the sound keeps the haunting vibe going, and it kind of moves seemingly in and out. I think this one's surprisingly entertaining throughout the entire song, and the ending is really solid. Then we go to Kirsten Supine. The instruments really complement the singer's voice and create an eerie atmosphere. The overall atmosphere of the song and how all the instruments just make the song sound so haunting and creepy works amazing. Oxygen, I like the pace of the song and the quickness of the drums. It really shows how important that oxygen and other stuff like that is to humans. At 4 minutes in, I really love the switch up of the song and the speed up and pace. Nathalie Neal, I don't really like the atmosphere of the song. While it's like haunting and creepy, it just sounds like too creepy and too weird. I just don't really like it. And while it is a solid song and it does sound pretty good, it just doesn't hold up for the whole 10 minutes. Then we go to Be Kind. I really like the amazing crescendo that To Be Kind ends the album off on. The instruments all working together to create a noisy yet enchanting sound makes this a song that's perfect to end the album on. I think this album has a pretty good setting with a super haunting experience, but I can't help but kind of feel bored with some songs. Some of them are just a little bit too stretched out, and when you're actively listening to an album like this, something that goes on for 2 hours, and when some of the parts are pretty monotonous, it just, I don't know, it's a boring listen at some points, but some points it's like, wow, this is actually amazing. I think that instrumental build up to the crescendos, the haunting vibe, and the atmosphere of the album is really great, but it kind of wears off when you're listening to this maybe the whole way through, because like I said, I only listened to it in the 1 hour parts or whatever, but I still think there are just some amazing moments. I just wish maybe each song could have been cut down to like 8 or 9 minutes instead of these 10 or like 34-minute songs like the Sun one was. Either way, though, I do like the album and the instruments sound great, but for a post-rock album, a genre that I'm not really into, listening for 2 hours is a little bit too much, and the songs aren't that interesting enough to hold my attention for 2 hours. I'd rather listen to something like Godspeed You, Black Emperor instead if I was trying to listen to post-rock. Either way, though, this is a solid album, and I would give To Be Kind by Swans a 6 out of 10, 4 points lower than Fantano gave it. The next album I listened to was probably one of the most acclaimed albums of all time, To Pimp a Butterfly by Kendrick Lamar. Starting off with a track-by-track review, Wesley's Theory, I really love the funk beat on this song, and the Thundercat and George Clinton refrain is so sweet, and Kendrick's verses and flow and the vocal effects just work perfectly on this song. The second verse is also perfect with the lyrics too. For Free, the segue from Wesley's Theory to this works great. Kendrick flows over the beat, and I like his voice on the verse. The song coming to a seemingly crescendo almost at the end of the verse is also cool. King Kunta, the song, the beat, and the chorus are all perfect. I like how he perfectly transitions from the chorus to the verses and vice versa. It sounds refreshing while at the same time all like one piece. Institutionalized, I love the beat switch from part 1 to part 2. I love the flow that Kendrick uses on part 2. Bilal's chorus sounds so good, and I feel like Snoop Dogg's inclusion works well on this one as well. These walls, the beat is so amazing, and I love Anna Wise's vocals as they fit perfectly on this song. Kendrick's flows and rhymes are also so good on this song. The segue from hotel room screaming in the song before to you and Kendrick screaming is amazing. The song is just a perfect example of a person hating themselves and blaming themselves for all the problems around them. Alright, this whole song is so good, while not only being catchy, but being much deeper below the surface and having an amazing beat, and Kendrick just flowing so well over the song. For Sale, another perfect transition. I just love the vocals on this song, not just from Kendrick, but everyone on this song. Then we go to Mama. Kendrick's flow and vocal samples on the first verse are both so amazing. I like the sped up part of part 2 on the song. I feel like the song makes it even better. It makes the song even better. Hood Politics, the slowed and stripped down beat is great, and then the switch from to the new beat is also really cool. Although the chorus is a little bit subpar for the album, this being one of the worst songs on the album shows how amazing this album is. How Much a Dollar Cost, James Fauntleroy, I think that's his name, sounds amazing on the chorus, and Kendrick's storytelling really shines through on this song. The biblical allusions work well on this song as well, and the beat lets Kendrick's powerful lyrics shine through on this song. Then we go to Complexion. The flow from the chorus and the verse are amazing. Kendrick's flow in the second verse is amazing. The repetition of the first verse in the second shows how important Kendrick wants everyone to know that all black people have shared experiences. Rhapsody's verse is also great, and the fact that the beat fades away as it goes on works well. The Blacker the Berry, I love the anger that Kendrick shows on the song. He's aggressive, and his words on the song sound much more impactful because you can tell that Kendrick really feels those lyrics when he's singing them. You Ain't Gotta Lie, the song is a lot more laid back, but it's super catchy on the chorus. The lyrics aren't as hard hitting as some of the other songs, but the vibe is just amazing and it sounds great. The transition from You Ain't Gotta Lie to I is great, and I love this song so much. The album version just sounds like Kendrick is performing it right in front of you, and the spoken word at the end is also just super powerful. Mortal Man, Kendrick's flow and the production on the song are amazing to start off the song, and ask the listeners if they'll support him when things go awry. I love the poem that Kendrick wrote, and it kind of connects the album together because it's used in multiple songs and slowly read more and more and more. I feel like the words said by Tupac shows kind of what has happened to America, since the album's been released. We've kind of been divided, and I feel like the last lines in the album open the whole album up to interpretation as well. Overall, though, this album is so amazing with everything being together by the poem and biblical allusions being used throughout the album. The lyrics, sound, and narrative are all very cohesive throughout the album. Kendrick's flow and lyrics create a lyrical masterpiece with a story about his own life and the life that other African Americans feel. The references from Tupac to Nelson Mandela to people in his own life show how people have influenced Kendrick and his outlook on life. This album could have hundreds of different interpretations for every single song, and just overall it makes you think how African Americans are treated in America and how they see themselves. Either way though, I would give this album a 10 out of 10, the same rating as Fantano gave it. The next album I listened to was Kids See Ghosts by, of course, Kids See Ghosts. Let's just go with track by track review. Feel the Love, I really like the production on this one, and Pusha T's verse to start off the song is always pretty good. The production is nice and laid back. I'm not the biggest fan of Kanye's gun sounds that he makes, but the atmosphere that the production creates is great, and Cudi's chorus is also great on this one. Fire, the production is solid. I like the tambourine that's used in the beat. Kid Cudi's humming adds to the song's vibe, but the song is just way too short. Nothing really develops, and just nothing really happens except for two short verses, one from each Kanye and Cudi. Then we go to Fourth Dimension. The Louis Prima sample really works on the song and sounds good throughout the song. Kanye comes in with a really solid verse, and Cudi brings his A game on his verse as well. Both of them sound great on the production, and the soundbite of the sample doesn't really interfere with any of their lyrics. Then we go to Free. The hard-hitting production on this song might be my favorite on the entire album. I love that Kanye, Kid Cudi, and Ty Dolla $ign all kind of switch off on the verse. I'm kind of just a sucker for that in general. And then the Ty Dolla $ign refrain sounds really just angelic with the free. Then we go to Reborn. This song really shows off how magical Kid Cudi's hums really are. They kind of just carry the song the whole time. They sound really angelic, and especially with the amazing production on this track as well. It's just a super insanely catchy song while also having solid verses from both Kanye and Cudi. Kids See Ghosts, I love the tropical-ish toned down production that they used on this song. I really like Kanye's verse on this, and I think the chorus is pretty good, even though it is pretty repetitive on this one. I also like Yasin Bey's addition to the song. I feel like he kind of fits right in with Kanye and Cudi on this song. Last but not least, Cudi montage. I love the grimy atmosphere in the chorus on the song. The chorus is literally beautiful with Kid Cudi's hums in the background and Mr. Hudson's voice in the foreground. Even though the song is extremely repetitive, the vocals from Mr. Hudson and Cudi are just absolutely beautiful, and this is just a great song. I think this album is just really great and has some amazing production from Kanye, and the Cudi vocals sound beautiful throughout the entire album. There are a lot of features for a collaboration album that's only 24 minutes long, but overall this album has some actual super amazing moments, but there are some parts that don't really live up to the rest of the album. But I think about 21 to 22 minutes of this music on the album are just absolutely beautiful and just like 10 out of 10 moments, but there are some parts that let down, and because it's such a short album, those bring it down a lot more. Hopefully these guys can make some more music in the future. I don't think that's going to happen, but it'd be really nice. This is just some amazing music. Either way though, I'd give Kids See Ghosts a 8 out of 10, 2 points lower than what Fantano gave it. The next album I listened to was Daughters, You Won't Get What You Want. Thought this was a pretty solid album. Let's go track by track. City Song, this album starts off with a bass line with a lot of distortion and a rhythmic drum. The production is really interesting because it has an industrial yet kind of haunting vibe, and it has a surrounding and closing feel where the music begins to trap you. Long Road, No Turns. I don't really like the vocals on this song, but the vibe is still like an eerie city street at night. I do really like the drums on this song, and they give this song a claustrophobic vibe. Satan in the Wait, the siren sound in the background is actually haunting, and I like the beat switches to the keyboard. The melody during the middle of the song is actually really amazing, and the more mellow sounds contrast with the vocals of someone who seems like they're suffering. This is a great 7 minutes of music, and it's not really boring, exhausting at all. It just swallows you into a world of noise around you. The Flammable Man, the song just moves a little too fast, and I feel like it begins to lose the haunting vibe that was created on the previous song. The song moves at an insanely fast pace, something like Black Midi, but doesn't really work when following the former song, and it changes the album from a slow building haunting vibe to kind of a fast moving, still haunting vibe. The Lord song, I don't really like the vocals on this song, and while the production and instrumentation on the song is solid, and it keeps up the fast moving pace from the Flammable Man, it doesn't really hold up, compared to the rest of the album. Less Sex, this song goes back to a slower beat with a more stripped down production to focus on some of the best vocals on the album. I like the switch to the electric guitar atmosphere kind of feeling. I think this song is a nice breather from the last two songs. I think this song is pretty great. Daughter, the atmosphere built on this track is really good as well and works well with the more built up parts and the slower and calmer parts, but it is just kind of a forgettable track in the whole track list. The Reason They Hate Me, I love the faster production on this song, surprisingly. The instrumentation on the chorus sounds really good with a lot of distortion on the drums, and the song continues the haunting atmosphere and sounds pretty damn good. Ocean Song, the song alternates from these super hard-hitting sections to slower sections and has irregular drumming, changing the tempo very quickly to build tension. The pace picked up really brings a haunting experience to your ear as the music again begins to close on your ear, trying to seemingly suffocate them. And the song ends with a pulsating distortion that seems to try and lure you into its layer of sound. Last but not least, we have Guest House. The cymbals on this track really carry the song, and the distortion with the guitars creates a shocking experience where the listeners are trapped listening to haunting and worrying kind of beat. The song just has a perfect last couple of minutes where it just sounds amazing, and the instrumentation is just great. This album is really good and has a really haunting atmosphere at points while keeping a quicker speed at other points and slowing down at others. While there are a multitude of songs I only kind of enjoy, Satan in the Wait and Guest House are absolute bangers. Overall, the album is pretty solid, but just the really good songs really carry the rest of the tracks. But I still think it's good. Either way, though, I would give You Won't Get What You Want a 7 out of 10, 3 points lower than Fantano gave it. The next album I listened to was Spelling's The Turning Wheel, and I thought this album was pretty solid. Here's a track-by-track review. Little Deer, I love the lush atmosphere that the strings create. Spelling's voice really fits as it is kind of so high, and it pierces through the instrumentals while getting complemented by the lush-sounding instrumental and the trumpets in the background. Always, her voice is solid on this song, and the harp in the background sounds beautiful. There are some good parts, but I don't really like the pre-chorus. I don't like the stacking of her vocals on top of other vocals, and because I kind of just feel like it takes away from the beauty of her own voice. Then we go to Turning Wheel. I don't really like the inflection of her voice on this track. This song is pretty solid, but compared to the last two, it doesn't really do much, and even though the atmosphere is pretty solid on this one, everything else falls a little short. The Future, the chorus is solid, but I feel like the extra effects on her voice and the instruments make it a little worse. The inflection in her voice on the second verse works really well. The outro also doesn't really work just because I feel like the chorus isn't that great. Awaken, the atmosphere is interesting, but I don't really like the effects on her voice at all. I feel like the stacked voices on her voice, again, don't really work well. Emperor with an Egg, the atmosphere with the strings and the trumpets make it sound really sad at the end. I feel like this could be a soundtrack to a ballet. The ending lines are cool because there's no backing track, but I don't really like the backing vocals that much. Boys at School, the piano in the background sets a really emotionally vulnerable atmosphere with Spelling revealing her harm at school, really. And the chorus is exceptional with the production sounding beautiful and just complementing Spelling's vocals. The electric guitar in the background of the third verse is amazing and adds to the depressing vibe. The song just ends with a crescendo, and it's just amazing to listen to. Legacy, I love the back-ending guitar that kind of leads the track, and the slow build the track has with Spelling's vocals slowly giving way to the strings which continue to build. This song is great, and Spelling's vocals sound great over the whole track. Queen of Wands, I love the synths, and starting off with the strings and transitioning into the synths. Her vocals sound great and kind of melt into the synths to just coexist with them. The second verse drums are added in, and Spelling's voice sounds amazing, giving way to a 3-minute instrumental to end the song. Magic Act, the instrumental starts to represent a seemingly cycle sound until a bell interrupts it, starting Spelling's vocals. Spelling's vocals sound amazing on this one, and her inflection on body sounds amazing, and the electric guitar starts to come in and build up tension. The electric guitar is absolutely beautiful in the last 2 minutes of the track, and these 3 songs, 8, 9, and 10 are just amazing. Revolution, her voice sounds good, but the inflection on Birthday Candles does not sound good at all. Her vocals are pretty solid besides that, but I like the production, especially after she starts singing where it begins to build up. Sweet Talk, the production seems alien and futuristic with the bassoon creating an extremely dark atmosphere. I also love the Tibetan vocals to end the album. And just overall, this album has some super high moments and shows how good Spelling's voice is. The instrumentation and production on this album is actually amazing, and while there are 2 or 3 minute instrumental outros to end multiple songs, they work perfectly and add to the songs. The electric guitar that Spelling uses throughout the album is just beautiful and perfectly adds to the atmosphere. And like I said, my 3 favorite tracks are Legacy, Queen of Wands, and Magic Act. Even Boys at School, those 4 tracks in a row are just an amazing 4-track area. But I would give The Turning Wheel a 7 out of 10, 3 points lower than Fantano, even though there were some great tracks on this. The last album I listened to was Lingua Ignota's Sinner Get Ready. This was the last Fantano 10 out of 10. Let's go off track by track. The Order of Spiritual Virgins, I love the production on this one. It sounds extremely dark. I love the layering of her vocals as it sounds like a real choir and builds up the sound of the song. The atmosphere is like a church choir singing about very depressing things. It switches up with extremely dark sounds, like kind of like a jump scare in the middle of the song, and then changes to like a wailing atmosphere every time the thumping happens. I'm kind of scared as a listener, and it seems like something is like interfering with her song, like the connection got like messed up or something. It's really cool, actually. I Who Bend the Tall Grass, I love the organs on this song. The song is just utterly hopeless, and Lingua's voice and angry delivery contrast the calm of the organs throughout the song because they don't change any notes at all throughout the thing, and just beautiful. The atmosphere built throughout the song contrasted with Lingua's powerful vocals yelling at God to kill her abuser. It's just amazing. Many Hands, the atmosphere is a seemingly similar sounding church with a buzzing sound and a guitar with the buzzing plucks. Her vocals sound so raw, and the layering of her vocals will fill your ear with a choir of her raw vocals. Pennsylvania Furnace, the song starts with a piano accompanied by great vocals from Lingua. The single piano allows Lingua to be emotionally vulnerable with her listeners. The song builds to add other instruments to create a crescendo of sound building with each drum beat, and it's pretty amazing. Repent Now, Confess Now, the banjo in the background mixed with the flute, synths, and Lingua's layering vocals creates an interesting atmosphere where Lingua seems to be all around you with different voices in each spot. It's a pretty cool song. The Sacred Lineament of Judgment, I love the deep piano in the song. I don't like the buzzing shrewdy box, I think that's what it's called, used throughout the song. The piano is beautiful though, and I think Lingua's raw vocals over the sermon is an interesting choice and kind of works well. Perpetual Flame of Centralia, the slow piano sounds beautiful and allows for Lingua's vocals to shine. Also, they work in tandem because the notes get stronger as Lingua's vocals also get stronger. Man is Like a Spring Flower, I love Lingua's voice and the layering of her vocals on top of each other. The piano is pretty solid, but it's just kind of boring. It does get a lot more up-tempo with the banjo and clarinets. This upbeat atmosphere begins to consume the listeners as more and more airy ambient music and instruments come into play, each of them competing for the listener's attention. The end of the song builds up to crescendo that doesn't end and just goes right into the next song, where there's immediately, I believe, an interview. And it's, I don't know, it's pretty weird, but It works well. The Solitary Brethren of Ephrata, that's kind of the ending one. The piano is beautiful and just creates a great atmosphere with a cello, creating a feeling of calming and maybe change for the better as Lingua has kind of gotten out of her abusive relationship. The album is beautifully, sonically, and just cohesive throughout, showing a woman's journey through an abusive relationship. Lingua shows depth and vulnerability with her audience, and people can feel the pain she was going through while making this album. While this album is great throughout, I don't really think it has any standout moments besides the end of Man is Like a Spring Flower, and there are some more boring parts when she goes back to the piano one too many times. The atmosphere is amazing throughout, but some of the parts just didn't really work for me. Either way, though, I would give Sinner Get Ready a 7 out of 10, 3 points lower than Fantano. Here are the rankings for all the albums. To Pimp A Butterfly is the best album. Kids See Ghosts is number 2. The Turning Wheel is number 3. The Money Store number 4. Sinner Get Ready number 5. Daughters number 6. To Be Kind number 7. Either way, all these albums are pretty solid, but I definitely don't think any of them are 10s besides Pimp A Butterfly. If you guys do want to see more videos like this, I would really appreciate a like on this video and a subscribe and a just comment some other discographies or groups of albums that I should review.